the movie is just building up to this point where they're going to meet in the San Francisco Bay and there's going to be this huge brawl. And so basically the whole movie is just building, building, building. It's nothing but a bunch of tracking shots of Godzilla with a bunch of ships kind of moving from Hawaii to San Francisco, and a bunch of tracking shots of the female Muto breaking out from Nevada, going through Las Vegas, kind of like heading to this point where they're going to meet, and there's going to be this awesome fight. But the stupid characters get in the way. That's probably my biggest complaint with the movie. For a Godzilla movie, we don't care about the characters. Nobody has ever cared about the characters in any Godzilla movie ever. The selling point is Godzilla. And I already talked about him hardly being in the movie, but that's because everything we see is through the eyes of the main character. What was his name? Ford Brody. Everything was through his eyes. So the whole time that we could be watching Godzilla doing cool stuff and like fighting monsters and like chasing monsters and stuff, instead we're getting like a mission, like a secret mission where they're trying to like relocate a nuclear warhead to the San Francisco Bay so they can send it out into the ocean and blow all the monsters up at the same time. So we really don't get a lot of Godzilla action. And once they actually meet in the San Francisco Bay, we get some like cool fight stuff, but I wouldn't really consider it like a giant monster battle like how the old Godzillas are. My favorite part of the Godzilla franchise when the monsters are fighting, because I mean, come on, how can you not just love that? How is that not everybody's favorite thing about the movies? I mean, yeah, they were fighting, but it felt like they were in the background the whole time, because we're following the freaking Halo jumpers moving around, trying to get like the warhead back, because the Mutos steal it. And it just feels like, we get like I don't want to say like 3 seconds, a little longer than that. We get like a 30-second clip of Godzilla like punching a Muto, or the Mutos like ganging up on Godzilla, and then it's back to the characters again. The characters are so in the way of what we came to see in the movie that I really couldn't enjoy it. Another thing is, along with that, Godzilla in the movie, unlike in some of the others, like in the original series and like the second series where he's fighting other monsters, but I see that as him being territorial over Japan. And he just wants to be king of the monsters. Like he wants to be on top. He just kind of has this bloodlust where he just wants to destroy everything, because in those movies he's really not doing anything to avoid destroying other like structures around them, like other cities, or really regarding people's lives. In this movie, I felt like the monsters were too involved with the humans directly, because if you watch some of the old ones, like the Smog Monster, he's really just kind of like floating around, blowing crap up, not really destroying the humans, but more like the buildings, just kind of like the big things that are kind of like on his level. I mean, since they're all like animals, they're not necessarily intelligent. They're just kind of like destroying everything that they kind of like see bigger than them, like as a threat. But in this movie, the Mutos were actually like singling people out, even though they're these huge, gigantic, like weird crab spider flying things, and they're picking people out like singularly. And I felt like that was really stupid, because I mean, you don't really think twice about stepping on an ant, and I feel like the same thing would apply, because the humans aren't actually like their food source or anything. So I mean, they weren't really like eating them all that much. They were more just kind of like smashing them. And then that was kind of dumb. And Godzilla on the other hand, the same thing goes for him actually, because like in the older ones, I mean, he's not really like interacting with the humans. I mean, he'll fight them if they're like shooting at him and stuff, and he'll be like, oh well, stuff's flying at me from this direction, I'll just shoot a beam in that, like atomic breath in that direction, and then that kind of be the end of it. Where it's more like a wild animal thing, where he's just kind of like, you're on my turf, so I'm going to take you out, and then like while I'm at it, all this other shit's around me, so I might as well just do some destroying of that too. Godzilla was like deliberately and mindfully protecting the humans in this movie. There's a point where they're shooting at the military's shooting at the Mutos from across the Golden Gate Bridge. So they're on this side, Mutos are on this side, and they're like firing rockets, and there's like busfuls of children on the bridge. And so they're like firing, and then there's a point where it's like about to hit the bus, and Godzilla like stands up and like blocks it, And that just felt like really stupid to me, because I don't really see Godzilla as a savior. He's not a savior. He's a wild animal. He doesn't have like the intelligence to put himself in harm's way for other things. Like, I felt like he was more of a Gamera in this movie. And if I wanted to watch a Gamera movie, I'll watch the Gamera series. I didn't go to see a Godzilla movie for him to be like friend to children, savior of humanity. At the end of the movie, it says Godzilla, giant monster, savior of our town, savior of our city, and I just felt like that was really stupid. And on top of that, he like walks into the sunset, but not in like a cool like Final Wars kind of way, where he's just kind of like, yeah, I just left all this fucking mass destruction in my wake. It was more like he was dead. Everyone thought he was dead, and then he just kind of gets up and like lethargically like throws himself into the sea. And it was just really stupid, because I felt like it was just like really like campy. And I mean, yeah, the Godzilla movies are campy, and that's kind of like what we love them, but it was too much. It felt like too much to me. And also, Godzilla directly interacting with humans. The worst part of, oh, well, actually, no, there's two worst parts of the movie. I'll start with the one that actually happens first. So, at one point, Godzilla like knocks a building over on top of himself like a klutz. He was more clumsy in this movie than he was in, which one was that? I think it was Godzilla vs. the Thing, or Godzilla vs. Mothra, which is the actual title, where he's kind of like tripping over everything, and he like falls into Tokyo Tower and everything. In this one, he like smashes the Muto, the male Muto. I keep wanting to say Muto, but I can't. They're dinosaurs. And the building falls on him, and then he's kind of like out for the count. So Godzilla looks into the main character's eyes like, okay, man, I did my part, and all right, man, I did my part. Now you gotta go get this Muto off into the water, and kind of like, it's up to you now, man. The last time I saw a person look into Godzilla's face, I think it was Godzilla Returns, the 1984 one. I'm not sure which one it was. The last time I saw anybody look into Godzilla's face, he was standing on top of a building, like head level with him, and he was just like, Godzilla looked at him. He turned. He looked at him. He opened his mouth and just obliterated him with his atomic breath. That's what I love. That's what I want to see, my Godzilla. I want to see a gritty, murderous, like evil lizard just destroy crap. I don't want to see another movie where it's basically like a larger than life hero. I like watching Godzilla and kind of like cheering for him for all the things that humanity has like. Godzilla is like a symbol for humanity like ruining the planet, and I really like that concept, and it's done a lot, and it's done very poorly, but I feel like with Godzilla it's like it's like more than a message. It's I don't know. It's just like this really cool symbol, and I feel like it really works because I just like giant monsters, man. What can I say? I'm that guy. I love giant monsters. I just love it. But oh my god, it was so fucking brutal. He didn't even care. He didn't even think about it. He was just like, bah! And just destroyed this guy. Now he didn't like look into the main character's soul like he did in the new movie. That was just dumb. Oh my god. And there was like no point for them to have that connection other than the fact that Godzilla is like the title, and that this guy's the main character. So, like, they didn't really, like, interact with each other at all prior to that. Godzilla didn't know what he was doing. It was just so stupid, and it was cheesy, and, what the hell, these are my thoughts. I had a bigger list, but I lost it, so I'm just kind of, like, going off the dome here. God, I need some water. Oh, yeah. So that was the first worst part ever of like anything I've ever seen. And to round it all home, what happened was the main character, he's like dying, and he just kind of like crawls onto the boat where the warhead is. He can't open it, so he's just kind of like, well, I mean, I'm just going down with this ship. Even though he puts it on autopilot, and he could just kind of like jump off the deck before it actually takes off. Because he wasn't steering it, he just kind of like put it on cruise control and was just like, pretty much a Viking funeral, but with a giant nuclear explosion in the end. So he gets on it, The Muto realizes this boat is like working or whatever, so because he sees the light, she sees the lights or whatever. So he goes over and he's all like, bah, and this is the stupidest, most cliche thing ever. The main character pulls out his sidearm in like a Saving Private Ryan Last Dance and is about to be like, well, I mean, I can't do nothing else. I might as well just shoot you in the face. All right, now this is the best part of the movie because, I mean, we see the atomic breath before, but this is probably like the coolest use of the atomic breath that I've ever seen. So this was actually like really satisfying for me to watch. So what happens is, so he's about to kill him. And then all of a sudden, from the background, Godzilla because we think he's dead because he got crushed by this building. So he takes the Muto, the female Muto, opens his jaw. It looks like he's about to King Kong the bastard because he like has its hand in his mouth and he's like pulling it apart. So I thought he was just gonna break his jaw like in King Kong. And at first I was like, well, that's dumb. That's been done before. Now you're just kind of ripping off King Kong here. Godzilla opens his mouth, charges up his atomic breath, and like hollows out this Muto and just kills it. And that kind of made me question why he just didn't do that earlier. But whatever. So that was actually like that was the best part of the movie for me was to see Godzilla just brutally annihilate this monster. And then he passed out and he was dead. And then the main character passed out. By the way, main character passed out like 50 times in the movie. I'm not even kidding. And what else was there? Godzilla flared his nostrils like a million times. I don't know if you've noticed that. What else was there? The plot was just stupid. It just kind of plodded along. I didn't really care for it. It was just it was lame. The characters I don't care about. All I wanted to see was Godzilla kick some ass on screen. Like for to be the first time that I got to see that. And I felt like I was robbed like of all my I mean, at first I expected it to be bad, but once I jumped on the hype bandwagon, I mean, I kind of just, I never let myself do that, and I let myself do that with this movie. I was so disappointed. But yeah, the characters were all like super stock and stupid. That's another thing. From the trailer, I thought Bryan Cranston was gonna be like this super cool like scientist guy. Because I mean, if you look back on the Godzilla franchise, it's just riddled with like scientist lead characters. But he gets killed like 20 minutes into the movie for no reason. So I mean, Bryan Cranston, his part was just kind of like thrown away. There was an Asian guy, Serizawa. I thought that was a nice little nod to the original movie with Dr. Serizawa. I would have liked to see I would have been happy with just a remake with like the whole oxygen destroyer and then Serizawa kind of like killing himself like in order to kill Godzilla and like the really weird love triangle, and that would have been cool. Jesus. Sorry. My throat's super dry. I need water so bad. I've been talking nonstop for the past like stripe o'clock.